And I'm Michelle Michaels.
And I'm Barry Forbes. We're the co-hosts of Gay Fairfax, the National Capital Area's only weekly gay cable magazine sharing news, views, and pride.
Each week we'll feature events and personalities of interest to the gay women and men of Northern Virginia.
Now Gay Fairfax can be seen on Arlington Community Television, Channel 33.
So join us every Sunday evening at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 9 p.m. right here on this channel. And remember to keep the pride alive. Welcome to Gay Fairfax, the National Capital Area's only weekly gay cable magazine sharing news, views, and pride. I'm Barry Forbes.
And I'm Beth Goodman. Each week we'll feature events and personalities of interest to the gay women and men of the Washington metro area.
On this edition, we'll learn about the Whitman-Walker Heart Project and some of the workshops it offers for gay men and women.
And we'll talk to members of WAGLE, Washington area gay and lesbian educators, and find out about some of the issues and problems facing this group.
But first, with this week's gay trivia question, here's Peg McCraw.
The Washington Blade is the leading news publication for gay people in the Washington metropolitan area. In publication since 1969, the paper has undergone a number of changes, including 2 name changes. What other names have appeared on the Washington Blade's masthead? The answer at the end of the show.
Thank you, Peg. Wet, Wild, and Well. Now that's the name of just one of the workshops offered to gay women and men by the Whitman-Walker Clinic's Heart Project. Gay Fairfax learned more about this project and the other workshops that help keep gays happy and healthy.
Hi, I'm Lance Attia with Gay Fairfax. We're in front of Lambda Rising today talking to Russ Brady of the Heart Project. Russ, can you tell me a little bit about what the Heart Project is and what you're doing here today?
Certainly, Lance. The Heart Project is an educational outreach program targeted to gay and bisexual men and to lesbians out of the Sonny Sherman AIDS Education Services program of Whitman-Walker Clinic. As such, we provide approximately 1,400 participants through various interactive workshops during the year. Our workshops are based in terms of being very sex positive, lifestyle affirming, and life affirming for gay and bisexual men as well as lesbians. It likewise was doing community outreach similar to this kind of thing right here in front of Lambda Rising, where we're basically publicizing and promoting our workshops for for people who are interested in attending.
Hi, we're talking here with Rex Poindexter. Rex, I understand you were just stopped by the outreach program of the Heart Project. What'd you think?
It's a great idea. I went to the sex workshop, eroticizing sex workshop, 8 or 9 months ago. It was great. We put condoms on bananas and cucumbers and played with oils and talked, and it was really good.
You learned a lot?
Yeah, it wasn't really about learning as much as finding a place to talk about feelings and talk about sex and how to get into sexual situations and talk about how you're feeling, that maybe we need a condom now and maybe we need to do this instead of that. That was good.
We're here with 2 Heart Project volunteers and the coordinator of lesbian services at the Whitman-Walker Clinic. The Heart Project consists of 3 separate workshops. One is called Eroticizing Safe Sex Workshop, Dating 101, Men Meeting Men, and Wet, Wild, and Well. Amy Lee Zern, can you tell us a little bit about Wet, Wild, and Well?
Sure. Wet, Wild, and Well is a little bit over a year old. We've been developing it basically using the model that the men's workshops were using and developing into something uniquely lesbian. It's about a 3-hour workshop, and it deals with issues of our sexuality, what we like to do, how we like to do it, and then deals with how to reduce our risk for HIV, and then moves into a component of negotiating how we want to have sex with our partners.
You brought some props here with you.
I did.
Can you shed some light on them?
Sure. Well, first of all, this is a dental dam, and perhaps some people in the audience have not seen one. It's a square of latex that's been used traditionally by dentists to isolate tooths, and it can be used during oral sex, either oral vaginal sex or oral anal sex. We also have a lovely latex glove for that special sort of surgical feel about sex. You can wear it for finger play or anything else. Also makes a very good latex dam if you cut off the fingers and the thumb. We also brought some lovely crystal rose saran wrap, which can also be used for oral sex, and it's quite a bit cheaper, and it comes in many lovely colors. I also brought a condom. Yes, gals, a condom. And a condom can be used for many things. I can open the package. This is a non-lubricated condom, by the way. You can roll it over your fingers, roll it over a dildo, roll it over your sex toys. It also makes an excellent and cheap, because often you can get them at AIDS service organizations like Whitman-Walker. Et voila, a latex dam.
Jan, can you tell me a little bit about the workshop that you do?
Sure. Michael and I both do facilitate the Dating 101 workshop and the Eroticizing Safer Sex. They're slightly different in content. Eroticizing Safer Sex is more involved with men adopting safer sex behaviors into what they do sexually. And Dating 101 has more to do with, I think, communicating with men and dating issues.
So workshops, as Emily was saying, with her visual aids there, we use the same things in slightly different ways. The main point of the Eroticizing Safer Sex workshop, actually there are kind of 2 points that I look at when I lead a workshop, and that is giving the people the information that's out there about safer sex and about AIDS and about how AIDS is transmitted. You'd be surprised, even in 1991, how much people don't really know or understand. And we're not there really to sort of tell them what they can or can't do. We just provide them the information and hopefully allow them to make a more educated, informed decision for themselves. So we're there to sort of give the information and provide it. But also what sort of happens is we discover throughout the course of the workshops, and I've been doing them for about 2 years now, is that people are really grateful for an opportunity to share and talk and communicate with other people in the community about what their fears are and their anxiety, and it helps alleviate that. So.
Why do lesbians have to be concerned with AIDS and safe sex?
Well, I think that lesbians have been consistently left out of any AIDS education in any sort of formal way. And the bottom line is that we don't know. We don't know what risks lesbians are at because there have been no statistics on the fact of HIV concentration in vaginal secretions, how many lesbians are living with HIV, how lesbians who are living with HIV were infected. Our government has done nothing to really look into that question. So Wet, Wild, and Well is really looking at what we actually do, look at the activities, and then each woman in the workshop can determine for herself what her personal risks for HIV may be. Whether that's past sexual history with a man, whether that's alternative insemination with semen that they didn't know anything about the donor, whether that may be previous use of IV drugs, or sexual activities that draw blood or would allow vaginal secretions to get into an uninfected person's bloodstream. So I think that it's real important for women to look at what their risks are and each woman evaluate for herself. And I think that the men's workshops really do that too. Not telling people what to do or not to do, but allow them to assess their risks so they can feel more powerful with the choices they're making.
So what are some of the differences between the workshops that you have for women and the ones you have for men?
Well, I think we were talking about it a little bit prior to doing the show, and I think that one of the big differences is that lesbians may not have encountered any of this information before. They may never have seen a dental dam. They may not understand or have any sense of what their risks might be. So we go over HIV risks in a much more slow and programmatic way than I think the men's workshops do, because men may have been receiving safer sex messages, either negative or positive, and probably predominantly negative, for a very long time. So I think that the men's workshops have a different focus in that sense.
It's true what you're saying about the negative information that they were being presented. Ours is a positive, lifestyle-affirming presentation or point of view that we bring to the workshops. And we don't spend probably as much time talking to them about safer sex information and means of transmission as they would in a lesbian or the Wet, Wild, and Well workshop, because they have heard it before. The majority of our time is spent mostly on activity. What can you do, and what can you do, and how can you do it safely? More so than the sort of what we call the mourning stage or assessing your loss. We spend a lot more time affirming them and affirming their actions. And I liked what you were saying about making choices. It's amazing how many people don't know that they can say no to a partner who wants to engage in unsafe sex. And giving them that information is like giving them power. It's empowering them to set their own limits and say, it's okay for you to set your own limits. It's okay for you to say no, but here's a way you can get him to do what you want to do safely. And we spend some time talking about that as well. So.
Do you have to take your clothes off in any of these workshops?
No, we don't. Most of the work that we do in the workshops has to do with communication, providing education to the people, the participants, and a lot of imagination and creative activities, trying to put the fun back in sex.
Yeah, you'll discover that your biggest sex organ is between your ears, not between your legs, no matter how well hung you are, I guess. But it's your brain, and it's getting in touch with that and using your imagination to stimulate various ways of engaging in safe activity, whether it's with whipped cream or whether it's with honey, or using sexual aids like the latex or the whatever. The possibilities really are endless.
If each of you had to sum up what the goals of the HEART Project were, what would you say it is?
Oh, I think it's to affirm who we are as lesbians and gay men, that we are sexual, and that our sex and our sexuality is good and positive, and that there are ways that we can protect ourselves and keep on living safely in an age of AIDS, which is very scary for our community.
I think it's to give men and women in our community an opportunity to really explore the issues around safer sex. It's not just knowing what is or is not safer, but it really has to do with going through a lot of psychological and emotional issues, and I think the workshops really help to do that.
We have a slogan that we use. It says, safer sex doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And for me, that's really what the workshops mean. Giving people a sense of community, putting the fun and the spontaneity back into sex that people think is missing. A lot of people come to the workshops with these fears or these anxieties about sex and think that they have to stop doing what they've enjoyed doing. But we say no. I mean, that's not true. One of the first exercises is, how do you think AIDS has impacted your life? And they list, I can't have spontaneous sex anymore, the fun's taken out of it, and we make these lists, and then we go back at the end and say, now look at the things that you said you couldn't do. Do you think you could do them now? And people sort of come around, you sort of see a change in their thought patterns. So for me, it's sort of, you don't have to do it alone, which is a comforting thought.
So basically the workshops put sex back into being homosexual.
Exactly.
Right.
Would you like to work for us?
About how many people attended the workshop?
The group I was in was about 15 or 20 guys, maybe a little more, all kinds of different ages and all kinds of different sexual habits and experiences, from very little to a whole lot. Was it fun? Yeah. I'd do it again if they take me back.
The Heart Project continues to promote sex-positive attitudes in this sex-negative world. For more information, call area code 202-797-3569. For Gay Fairfax, I'm Lance Attia.
Gay Fairfax needs you. Energetic, dedicated people who want to work hard but have fun too. Use your creative energies to produce segments, interview guests on screen, or write a script.
You can learn a new skill, well, like being a camera operator or being a TV editor, or how about being a technical director. You can make a difference by becoming a member of the Gay Fairfax crew. Together, we can help keep the pride alive.
Write to us at Gay Fairfax, Post Office Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia 22152, or call us at 703-451-9528. The Washington Area Gay and Lesbian Educators is an association of gay teachers and other educators. The group serves as a social outlet as well as a support group for its members, helping them cope with the unique and sensitive issues they have to face.
We're here today with Bob Pine and Ross Leisure of WAGLE. Welcome, gentlemen, to Gay Fairfax.
Thank you.
Ross, perhaps you could tell me, first of all, what WAGLE stands for and what is it you do?
Okay. WAGLE stands for the Washington Area Gay and Lesbian Educators, and it is a group that provides a social outlet and a support network for people, men and women, who are in a profession in which they frequently feel disenfranchised.
And that's everyone from preschool teachers up through superintendents, if someone wanted to join and they happen to be a
happy to have them join us.
Yeah. So it's all education, college,
yes,
everything.
Any sort of affiliation with education.
And how long have you been around?
We started last year about April, so we'll be facing our first anniversary next month.
That's great.
We have currently a mailing list of about 60 to 65 with about 30 paid memberships.
Well, that's growing. That's good.
Yes.
What is it that you want to work towards in this next coming year, now that you're a year old?
I think one of our primary objectives is to reach out to other educators who are not currently members. We're discussing that internally in ways we can do that.
And once you reach out to them, what happens next? They join your group and meetings?
We have meetings on the third Sunday of every month, generally, unless I think there's some special reason not to. And the meetings move from location to location based upon who has an available space for us to use.
And you cover Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, the whole section. Okay. And what is it that goes on at the meetings? I'm sure that you talk.
Yes, up to this point we've had sort of potluck supper meetings. So there's a lot of socialization that goes on, but generally a portion of the meeting is set aside for discussion of appropriate issues or concerns that the educators would bring with them to the meeting. And that could cover everything from how do I deal with students I know who are gay, what can I do to help them in their process, to even some legal issues that would be of concern to teachers in the classroom.
I think almost every gay teacher or lesbian teacher feels a real need to be a role model, and there's a conflict between that need and what the system or the administration or the parents will allow.
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. What, how in detail can you go with a student that you know is gay? I mean, legally, are you allowed to discuss this with them, or I think that the parents would be upset thinking that you were leading them into a world of sin or whatever?
That would vary from system to system. The Washington area has probably 15 to 20 different separate school systems, and each one would have their own policies and procedures covering that. So one of the things we try to do is at least discuss what those policies are within each of the systems for the people who come from the various systems.
And what most people can only do is to share the upset and the desire to be a good role model, and to be able to reach out to these kids, because for many people it is absolutely impossible to do so, and that creates frustration.
Right. Now, do your students know that you're gay? Do they know that they could come and talk to you about this if they needed to, or, you know, have they verbally harassed you, anything like that?
No.
That's good.
I am out to my entire faculty, and it is a very heartwarming kind of thing that I can be asked now about my companion, or where I'm going and what I'm doing, and the fact that I'm a member of this organization. I have not at any point officially come out to students, but any time that the issue comes up, whether they raise it or whether it comes up in the literature that we might read, and I do choose things specifically to spawn conversation on the subject, kind of devious that way, we will take as much time, and I will talk as much about the important issues and discouraging them from using derogatory terms, which is rampant in adolescence.
Definitely. Now, if you were asked point blank by your students, would you, I would think that would spur a whole nother discussion with them, but what do you think your response would be?
I would have to be truthful. In fact, I offhandedly remarked one day that I had a date and I had to leave, and he asked what was her name, and I said, "Oh, Chris," and he said, "Is that a man or a woman?" And I said, "Well, it's a man," and went on my merry way. I didn't feel any repercussions from that.
Well, that's good. And you were a teacher also,
Yes, I retired last July, so my major emphasis right now is sensitizing my colleagues, and I've been able to do that by being active in both the national and state Teachers Association's Gay and Lesbian Caucuses.
And how do they feel about this?
Well, many of I came out very late in my life, so many of my colleagues knew me for 20 years without realizing that I was gay, or at least they didn't indicate that to me, but they've all been very supportive and very understanding, and actually are good in asking questions and seeking more information. So,
well, how has it changed from when you first became a teacher to now, as not only with gay issues, but as far as being able to be more free to teach things that have been, like Tom Sawyer has been censored and things like this? How has that changed?
Well, unlike Ross, who's relatively young and inexperienced, when I started teaching was in pre-Stonewall days. And of course, as I was mentioning at his faculty workshop yesterday, and he might be able to tell you a little bit about that later, in those days, if you were gay, you were considered to be mentally ill, and you faced the prospect of, you know, frontal lobotomies and shock treatments and aversion therapy and things of that sort.
Glad we've gotten out of that mode.
Yeah. So it was not quite so easy as a teacher to be anywhere near openly gay. It's probably a lot easier now. You can speak better to that, I guess.
Well, we've been having a series of multicultural workshops, and from the very beginning, I was a little uncomfortable with the fact that the only subject that was never mentioned was the subject of gay culture. So I went to my director and said I would like to spearhead a program at our school to first raise the awareness and sensitivity of the faculty, and then to move out to the students. And yesterday was our program, our first level program, and Bob was there as well as another teacher from the D.C. area, and it went very, very well. And in the process of that, I came out to half of the faculty who previously did not know. And
was that rough? I think your heart must have been beating a million miles.
There were a lot of wild cards. Half knew because I had established friendships with them over my 3-year tenure there, and the other half were new staff that I really had not gotten to know yet. So there was a large wild card population, and I was wondering, I was always scanning the audience for looks of terror
facial responses
or horror.
But it went well.
It did, and I think that we have made a good step toward reaching out to our students next year
Great.
in the fall.
So what do you think is probably the main goal coming up for WAGLE as far as...
Well, I think it would be nice to give teachers and educators enough confidence and enough courage to come out and to be gay and lesbian and to be effective role models. I also do a lot of work with SMILE, Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League, and that's working with youth from ages 14 to 21, gay and lesbian, bisexual youth. And it's very important for emerging gay and lesbian youth to have role models. And the ones that they see are very remote to them. A teacher would be someone of great significance to them. So I think our organization would like to be able to encourage teachers at all levels to be able to come out.
Yeah. But it's by no means a requirement or an object of the group to see that everyone in the group is out.
No.
And if there's a teacher that wants to get involved with WAGLE, what do you suggest that they do?
Well, we list a phone number in the Washington Blade as one of the many groups that they list there. And if anyone would be interested, that phone number is 301-871-6597.
And you meet, you said, once a month?
Once a month, generally the third Sunday of the month, 4:30 in the afternoon. We like to create time so that a teacher can have a break between grading papers
and then go into
planning lessons for the next day and the next week. So.
Well, that's wonderful. I wish you all the luck in the world. We need more positive influences in every role, especially teachers, I think. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
How did you do with this week's trivia question? Well, here's Peg with the answer.
The paper began publication in October 1969 as the Gay Blade, a neighborhood newsletter published monthly. In 1987, the Gay Blade became the Blade and began bi-weekly publication. The Washington Blade, as we know it today, is a highly respected and widely circulated weekly newspaper.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Gay Fairfax. But don't forget that you can tune in again next week at this very same time. For Gay Fairfax, I'm Barry Forbes.
And I'm Beth Goodman. Thank you for watching, and remember to keep the pride alive.